is just they normally at least select one particular sample. Okay, they just at least select a sample and then they just at least collect the information about the industries, that kind of challenges they are facing. Uh, Not exactly the challenges, I mean, but I mean, what is a work? Let's say how many workers are there? What is a let's say average wages of let's say workers, or let's say how many hours you're spending, let's say in production and the other stuff. Okay, so this there are 7 tables in that series. Okay, and this is how they describe, actually this is a descriptive statistic, basically describe their profiles. Okay, so every year they just at least select some industries. Okay, so this is the sample size actually. So in 2013-14, ASI uh, survey included 2,24,576 factories. They approached them, they asked about the fixed capital, working capital, invested capital, outstanding loans, okay, number of workers, Monday workers, okay, number of employees, okay. And this is what a summary picture of it, okay. And here on the top of, or let's say in the title, just beside the title, they just at least say that any figure you read could be in lakhs. Okay, monetary figures could be in lakhs, and any other figure you just at least read, okay, could be in thousands. Okay, thousands in numbers. So provident and the other funds. Okay, so this is the way to understand that, to study the background of the industries, to understand, to analyze their profiles. Okay, and they ask couple of questions based on this sort of information, that what is your fixed capital, how many workers are working, okay, how many outstanding loans you are having, what is your net value added, rent paid, okay, if you are not owning your own let's say factory or the workshed, okay, if it is a rented property, then what is the rent, okay, interest that you are paying, net income, okay, next fixed capital formation, many other things they just at least, and what is your profit. So this is just to study their profile. And this is how they have described, okay, give emphasis on my word. This is how they describe the profile of this many industries that they have selected as a part of their sample. So this are the descriptive statistics. Okay. I hope this is useful to you. How many of you have knowledge about this? How many of you knew this before? Anyone who could tell me? So every year the sample size is different. Okay, if you can notice, sample size is different. Of course, you can get the Excel. So this is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Do you, I mean, I hope you have an idea about this ministry that exists in India. Yes, Manpreet, it would be different. And sample size, yesterday somebody asked me that how one can decide the sample size. It's not so easy discussion. It's not a matter of short discussion either. Or let's say within few minutes, you can at least, you can profoundly say that, okay, this has to be a sample size. No, many parameters need to be considered to, let's say, decide the sample size. You need to look at the heterogeneity in the data. You need to focus on, you need to review the sample selection procedure that you have adopted. You need to at least review the analytical tools and techniques that you are going to use. Many things you need to consider. Okay. Where all are these topics? This is, I'm showing that this is how, this is a simple case of descriptive statistics. Shivani, this is not a topic which is out of syllabus. I'm just saying descriptive statistics ये होता है. संयुक्ता. Okay. Now there are some Q&As. Can you please tell me where all these things, मतलब शिवानी में क्या यार ऐसे क्वेश्चन का मैं आंसर okay I have answered it by the way. This is not something which is not relevant to you. Okay, I just at least try to exemplify how descriptive statistics adopted by our ministries, how they have adopted descriptive statistics and what they have done. That's what I shown actually. Malika is saying the figures are the average of the information received by the sample sizes. Yes. Yes, Malika. We can't conclude one for all. Yes, but they are describing a sample, Manmeet. That's why they all can be labeled as descriptive statistics, Manmeet. I hope you remember the yesterday's slide. They all can be huh? Formulas. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, look at this. It hardly matter what formula you're using. If you're using for sample to describe the sample, all the formulas can be labeled as statistics. Okay, Manmeet? Yes, Vaidehi. Don't worry. Today we are going to talk about this. Yesterday I've started with this. So if you are dealing with the quantitative data, if you are, let's say, because when you have to deal with the quantitative data, you have to at least decide the measurement unit of each and everything that you are mapping, basically. Okay. So, for example, if you are let's say if you gathering the information about the daily rainfall, okay, the rainfall can be mapped in the quantity called millimeters, inches. Okay. Say, for example, you are just at least noticing the gold consumption in India per year. Okay. Let's say you are analyzing the time series data of gold consumption in India from 2001 to 2022, 2020, let's say 2001 to 2020. So you just want to analyze the gold consumption in India for this many years. So gold consumption can be mapped in metric tons. Okay. So kgs or metric tons, yes. And let's say if you want to let's say understand the consumption of electricity, then if you want to analyze the electricity consumption for agricultural purposes, then what should be the unit? Exactly. So likewise, if you are mapping someone's satisfaction level, importance level, so quantitative data is also focusing on mapping the subjective feelings like satisfaction, importance level, someone's opinion, someone's feedback. Okay, so scientists and researchers, they have found out a way. They have developed so many scales. Okay, 5-point scale, 7-point scale. Many ratings are like available. Okay, yes, many kinds of rating scales are like available, which can help us to map someone's subjective feelings. But you have to at least choose a measurement and scale for that. Yesterday I told you that nowadays most of the corporate houses, academicians, when they are just at least dealing with the when they are analyzing the quantitative data, they mostly use softwares or the tools like R, like Python, like Excel. Excel is a very basic tool, by the way. Or the other tools like Stata, or let's say Tableau, or many things. The first thing that you have to do is, when you are entering the data, you have to prepare the code book, because when you are dealing with certain categories, 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, okay? Or let's say when you are just noting down the gender of the person, let's say male, female, okay? When you are just at least, let's say entering the information about someone's education level, like graduate, okay? Postgraduate, PhD, other. These are the words. These are the categorical, let's say, form of information. You have to prepare the code book also. Okay, you have to replace these categories by assigning some numbers. Do you agree with me? That way you can at least, ease out the, you can at least make the data entry process smooth. Do you agree with me? The code book, preparing the code book, yesterday I discussed that. Preparing a code book can at least reduce your pain of entering the data. True. Because most of the people just at least commit a spelling mistake, consciously or unconsciously. When you are, let's say, keep writing the names or category names again and again, it's like people definitely may commit mistake. I mean, unconsciously, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously people will commit the mistake. And software will treat them differently. Okay, software can't understand anything. Yeah. Okay. Numbers, yes, only numbers. So let me just talk about this way of coding, which is called nominal. Okay. So all the categorical, when you are dealing with the categorical data, and when you just at least find the categories are like not exhibit any form of hierarchy. Okay. Categories अगर naturally कोई hierarchy मतलब दिखाता ही नहीं है, जैसे कि जेंडर है, मतलब नेशनैलिटी, you can take the example of religion, you can take the example of ethnicity, you can take the example of let's say your preferred brands, okay, all the brands, okay. Say for example, I like let's say wristwatch brand. If I talk about the wristwatch brands, I like, let's say, Seiko. Somebody would like, let's say, Rado. Okay, choices could be different. Okay, uh, so let's say marital status. Say for example. So these are the distinct categories, by the way. Okay, so there is nothing, let's say, superiority or inferiority, present among the categories. So we just use number system, a unique identity number for each and every category, okay, for preparing the list. So that's why this is called nominal, okay. So nominal is like, it's a demographic variables. Most of the demographic variables can be labeled as a nominal scale, okay. In SPSS, the symbol is like this way. In SPSS, its symbol is this way. There are three different circles of equal size, but their colors are different, which is signifying that here categories are distinct, but we have assigned the equal importance to each one. Okay, we have assigned equal importance to each one. And we just use natural number series or any number to at least list down the categories. Let's say 1 stands for Gujarat, 2 stands for, let's say, Tripura, 3 stands for, let's say, Himachal, 4 stands for Kerala, 5 stands for, let's say, JNK. Okay. So these are like distinct categories. Okay. Now, many times people just ask me, okay, for me, 1 stands for male and 2 stands for female. Is this a correct? Anything is correct. Even this is also correct. If you assign 2 stands for male and 1 stands for female, just you have to maintain the consistency throughout the data entry process. Any form of coding is okay. Okay, as long as you maintain the consistency from the beginning of the data entry to the end. Okay. Now, Shruti is asking me code is given in the order. to reduce the pain of typing the categories, right? Yes, definitely. And Shruti, nominal scale is that kind of, it's a that way of coding where the numbers are not, categories, naturally, they are not exhibiting any form of hierarchy. So that's why we just at least assign the numbers, unique numbers to each and every category. And our goal is to list them out. Okay. We are simply assigning the numbers because we wanted to prepare the exhaustive list of categories. That's it. Okay. Now, what is ordinal? Ordinal is any categorical data which is, which naturally exhibit one or the other kind of hierarchy. Say, for example, this is an analogy that I have presented. Okay. So this is, let's say, hot, hotter, hottest. Okay. These are like mirchis, if you like spices. Okay. So you can at least assign the codes also. Okay. So let's say the highest level of, let's say this is a highest level of, okay. So there is a hierarchy. Say, for example, education level. Do you find hierarchy in the education level? Say, for example, income groups, age groups, age groups. Both example could be, let's say, distance, range of distances, ranges of distance. Let's say ranges of distances. A stands for less than 5 kilometers of traveling. B stands for 5 to 10 kilometers of traveling. C stands for 10 plus kilometers of traveling. And for this, you can say that C is bigger than, can you say that C is bigger than B and B is bigger than A? Can you say that? Yes, of course, you can say that. So here, whatever number you assign, okay, whatever number you assign, you have to see. It's very important to convert this kind of C, B, and A. That's a 1, 2, 3. Okay? Because quantitative software will at least treat a quantity data only. If you want to analyze the content using some statistical software, you need data in numbers. Okay, IQ levels, say for example. Okay, so here you may use this kind of operators, less than, equal to, greater than. Okay, these kind of operators will be applicable in this case. Okay, example is the first division is better than second division. Upper class is more rich than the middle class. Okay. Interval scale. So interval scale is, interval scale. So what is an interval scale basically? So interval scale is any form of rating is perceived. This is a kind of a rating. Now people just, normally by reading this kind of a measurement type name, people just perceive that, okay, this must be 5 to 10, 10 to 15. Arey yaar, just because this is the interval, you can't at least say that this is, see, its name is interval, but actually it's any form of rating. It's a form of rating, maybe a star rating, maybe a agreement level. Okay. Here you normally set a 0. Okay. Normally you just set 0. What is 0 stands for? So 0 stands for one particular state. Okay. where person is neither agree or neither disagree, where person is neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, where person for the person anything which you are asking is not is neither unimportant nor important. So this is a form of what you can say. So here zero indicates zero is an arbitrary zero. Zero is a point basically, which is representing one particular state of mind. Okay, zero is not an absolute zero here. Okay, it is not indicating the absence of characteristic. Zero is representing one particular state of characteristic. Okay, so that's how interval can be interpreted. Okay, say for example here zero is assigned to represent neither agree nor disagree. So you can't say that okay, person. I mean, this particular category is absent. Okay, in person's behavior. No, it's not like that. Here, person couldn't decide whether he is disagree or agree, which is a state of mind. Okay. Shivani is saying that yesterday in the session one, I was searching the topics but couldn't find it. Shivani, chalo, I'll at least help you out in that way. Please elaborate this interval between the scale points. That's what I said, na? And what is the difference between ordinal and interval? Let me just tell you. Let me just clear this. Ordinal is any form of ranking. Underline this word, ranking. I'll ask you that, okay, there are three apps, WhatsApp, Insta, and Facebook. Imagine you want to, let's say, talk to your friends who are like far away. Normally, let's say, if you want to communicate with your friends, school friends, or let's say your college friends who are living very far, or let's say you don't at least meet them usually, which particular mobile communication app you'll prefer the most? Give your preferences. I may choose Instagram first, and then my second choice would be WhatsApp, and third choice would be Facebook. So preferences is also one form of ranking. Okay, let's say there are three, let's say brands. Okay, let's say imagine that you want to buy SUV. Okay, just imagine that you're keen to buy SUV. Which three brands you'll prefer? In what order? If I ask you, some people would choose Maruti first, Maruti lovers. Then Tata ka SUV is better than Maruti, maybe. And Mahindra ka SUV is, let's say, okay. But you have to decide the order, whether you're asking your respondents to assign their preferences in ascending order, descending order. You just clear that out. And then you just at least start asking it. Okay. So first preference is what basically the preferred most or preferred least. Okay, that you just at least clear in your communication. Okay, so your ordinal is any form of ranking, any form of ranking. Okay, any form of ranking, and interval is any form of rating. There's only difference of rating and ranking. I hope you are clear with this. Are you? Are you? The order of or the hierarchy of ordinal scale could be anything, ascending or descending, but you have to maintain the consistency. In the beginning of your sampling survey, if you have chosen, let's say, ascending order, so in between you can't at least change. You can't switch from ascending to descending. ठीक है, वरना आप ही कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे और रिस्पोंडेंट्स तो होगा, वो तो अलग सी बात है. ठीक है, I hope this is clear to you. Interval scale could be any point, right? 2, 3, anything. Yes, could be anything. It could be ranks also. Now these are ratio scale. The things are like straight away measurable. Can be said with ratio scale, like a GDP of a country, then rainfall in a region, wheat production in certain regions, number of, let's say, lions living in Giri area, okay? A number of tigers are living in Sundarban, okay? Cattle population in certain regions of, let's say, Bihar and, let's say, Uttar Pradesh, okay? Then number of cars in Patiala, Ludhiana, okay? A number of restaurants in certain localities, anything which is straight away measurable without adoption of any scale, okay, can be labeled as ratio. Okay, here zero means absolute zero. Okay, if you ask somebody's income and person says zero, matlab person is unemployed. Here zero is absolute zero. Understood? Yes, Akshay, correct. Now Nitish is asking me ordinal, ranking, and the options are with respect to the users, intervals, or the orders are pre-decided. Orders which are like pre-decided. Orders have supposed to be pre-decided. Nitish, we'll talk about this, but one more thing. So just tell me, what should be the, let's say this is a serial number. Just forget about this. Just focus on column B. Can you just tell me the measurement type of this tender? Pranay is asking, can we use ratio as a solo observation? It is always used with yes, comparison. Yes, Pranay. This is nominal age. Age is just, absolute figures of age. Age, absolute figures are there. Discrete figures are there. It's ratio because it's straight away measurable. That's why it's ratio. Straight away measurable. That's why it's ratio. Let's say rather than this, if let's say age groups are like mentioned, then 0 to 5, let's say 1 stands for 0 to 5, 2 stands for 5 to 10, 3 stands for 10 to 15. Then no, these are not interval. Here 3 is greater than 2, 2 is greater than 1. So it's ordinal. In place of age, absolute figures of age, if age groups would be there, then it's called ordinal. Now age category, 1, 2, 3, 4, ordinal. Education level, 1 stands for, let's say, UG, 2 stands for, let's say, PG, 3 stands for PhD. Think about it. Here, 3 is greater than 2, 2 is greater than 1. It's ordinal. Now, this is familiarity with the internet. This is a rating. Familiarity with the internet. Rating. Yes, it is an interval. Internet usage straight away. This is 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 30, 27. It's a ratio. Correct. Exactly. Do you want some more practice? Do you want some more practice? So I can at least show you the real data. I can discuss the real data. Well, this is you want real practice, then let's go to just a second. Let me just at least open one data file which can help us both. Okay, now let me just share my screen. Okay, let's talk about village amenities, Andaman and Nicobar Island. Okay, so there's a village name, Mas, Kitop, Sawai, Arong. What do you call this highlighted column? Let me just at least highlight this column. Simply names. You're going to keep assigning the codes. Unique identity. There is a village code. Census assign the village code. If you want to use, if you want to analyze this content, they have also provided the codes. You can simply import these codes into the data. I mean your data package. Sorry, software. Okay, nominal. Correct. It's a nominal. Great, 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 great. It's a nominal. Okay. Then let me just at least okay. Uh, then there is area. I mean village-wise area. Let me just talk about it. Area is not reasonable. Total number of households. I mean number of houses in each village. 365, 135, 280. This is straight away measurable. It's a ratio. Correct. It's a straight away measurable. So all the populations are like, all these are like ratios. Okay, these are like ratios. Then there is one particular variable, the government primary schools, and this shows the status only. So one stands for availability, two stands for not available. So this is what? Nominal. This is nominal. Why this is nominal? This is a dichotomous, yes or no kind of a thing. Okay, don't judge. I is simply showing the status actually. One stands for available, two stands for not available. Simply, okay. So you can't say that where the schools are like available, they are like superior. Okay, I mean, that's a separate question, by the way. Okay. Now there is a one more category. If the schools are like not available within the premise of the village, if school buildings are not available within the premise of the village, those students, okay, or those let's say childrens living in those villages, they have to travel to get the school education, and this is a category of their daily traveling. A stands for, let's say, in the 5 kilometers periphery, if they find a school, they have to travel for 5 kilometers to get the school education. B stands for those children have to travel 5 to 10 kilometers, and C stands for they have to travel for more than 10 plus kilometers. What do you call this? This is an ordinal. Okay, and this is very interesting. This part that you should at least uh, look at. And I don't know, I just at least felt that how much I lucky. I grew up in, let's say, urban areas, so my school was just next door actually. One more thing I wanted to, family and welfare, paramedical. Many times paramedical, or let's say any form of medical facility, is again not available within the premise of the village. So this is also ordinary. Okay, this is also ordinary. Now at the end, Now at the end, let me just at least talk about this nearest distance. Okay. Distance to the nearest town. The distance is available in the kilometers. It's a ratio. Correct. It's a ratio. Okay. So with this, I guess you all are like prepared. Correct. Most of you have given the correct answers. Okay. Coming back to my PPT, let's talk about, and this kind of MCQs could be there in exam. Dash is a collection of persons, objects, or the items of interest. Yes, correct. When researchers gather the data, the whole population for a given measurement of interest, then it's called a census. Well done, census. 1% sample. यार अपने साथी गण और स्वाध्याय से कुछ सीख लो. Don't mind, but it's okay. वो हो जाती है ऐसी मिस्टेक कई दफा. Don't worry. Okay. So inferential statistics are sometimes referred as instrumental. This is the thing that I haven't told you. Instrumental. Okay. So third answer I have given to you. Okay. Inductive. Inductive statistics. They can also be known as a inductive statistics. Okay. Inferential statistics are sometimes referred to inductive. Okay. It's a Okay, state whether the following statements are true or false. Data interpretation is a key element of statistics. True. Researchers often prefer to work with the population instead of entire sample. अरे नहीं, इतना पैसा होता ही नहीं है. टाइम का लिमिटेशन, बहुत सारे कंस्ट्रेंट्स रहते हैं. तो पॉपुलेशन पे के साथ काम करने का सद्भाग्य सभी को नहीं मिलता. Okay. Yes, they mostly prefer to work with the sample because researchers have to face many limitations, many limitations. Okay. So dash is the lowest level of data measurement. Now this hierarchy, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about this hierarchy. Let me just at least talk about this hierarchy. So this is the thing that metric data. Okay. In the metric data, it's a high level data, interval and the ratio could be the part of it. The data is in the form of quantity data, straight away measurable or measurable through some scales like Likert scale and the other scales. Can be used for the parametric statistics. Okay. Lower level of data, nominal or ordinal, could be the part of non-metric. Qualitative data and must be used non-parametric statistics. I guess there's no non-parametric statistical techniques in our syllabus, probably, but I'll at least talk about it. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so this is a hierarchy of scales. Okay, so the lowest level is what? Yes, correct. Many of you just at least mentioned there. Okay. When researchers gather the information, okay, this is what we have done. Fahrenheit scale is an example of interval actually, where 0 is not absolute 0. Fahrenheit, 0 is not absolute 0. It's interval. Because when there is a 0 temperature, you can't say that there's an absence of heat or cold. Okay, it's just a state of temperature. Okay, dash is the highest level of data measurement. Ratio. Now, these are the true or false. The ordinal level data measurement is higher than the nominal level. Okay. Okay. Then the ordinal data are non-metric data and are sometimes referred as a quantitative. Interval level data may not be. Okay. There is a spelling error. May not be. Always numeric. Okay, check it out your answers. your answers now. Make a self-assessment. Okay, don't worry. This kind of MCQs could be there. From each and every topic, this kind of MCQs could be there. Okay. As a part of your descriptive questions, let's say, शायद ये पूछा जा सके कि write about any of the two scales with examples. Okay. So let's say write about ratio and the interval scales with two examples, two illustrations. Then you have to write. Okay. You can describe a story. According to the mark, you should at least describe the story. Okay. As a part of the descriptive questions. Now, let's talk about some data visualization, the charts and the other stuff. Okay. Now, the first concept in this particular thing is ungrouped to group data. What is ungrouped to group data? This is ungrouped data. This is certainly the ungrouped data. And this is grouped because there is a class intervals. How to do this? I mean, in what way we can do this? Let's conduct this, this particular exercise. The following data represents the afternoon high temperatures of 50 construction days during a year in a Paran. Paran is a place in, I guess, Nagaland. If you know about that, it's a very beautiful place. Okay, so these are the temperature, let's say, figures of 50 construction days, of the 50 working days of a year in a Paran. Okay, and the data is given in the Fahrenheit. Okay, these are the data. These are the figures. Okay, and the unit of the figure is Fahrenheit. Okay, now these are the two questions. Construct a frequency table for data using 5 class intervals. Okay, and the second question is construct a frequency table for data using 10 class intervals. Now all these figures are like discrete in nature. And if the data is, let's say, discrete, okay, you can say it's ungrouped. Okay, let's convert. Okay, so this is the way that you can at least divide the entire data in 5 classes, and this is the way that you can divide the entire data in 10 classes. Okay, you should at least construct the interval. Now there is a sign. There are 2 things that you need to remember while you are just preparing the intervals. Okay, so I hope that you must have at least heard about these brackets. Okay, when you just say that 10 to 25 means both the figures are like inclusive. If you let's read the observation 10, you have to count it here. If you read the observation 25, you have to count it here. Okay, so this is, let's say, inclusive brackets. Now you can at least use a round bracket, which is exclusive. Okay, where you can, if you read the observation 10, definitely you can count them. Okay, but when you just read 25, it's supposed to be excluded, because here you're supposed to consider figures starting from 10 to 24 only. Okay, so this way you should at least mention it. Okay, this is inclusive brackets. You can at least construct the brackets like this way: 10 to 24, 25 to 39, 40 to 54. You can construct the brackets like this way. Any of the method you can choose, but you have to mention it clearly that what method you have selected. Okay, just maintain the consistency. See, statistics is all about any operation you do. Okay, you just maintain the consistency. Either you just go with this or this, but just mention the consistency. Now Shreya Khan written something which I couldn't understand. Sushmita, I hope you are clear with this. So if you read this, so I have considered this way, where I can at least consider up to 24, up to 39, up to 54, up to 69, and up to 84. Then, okay. But I wanted to at least present like this way. So I maintain the consistency. Okay. Inclusive. So what is inclusive and what is exclusive? So this is inclusive and this is exclusive. This is exclusive and this is inclusive. 10 to 24, 25 to 39. Okay. Well, inclusive and exclusive is not there in your syllabus, but you have to at least choose any one method. Okay. You won't find this concept in your book, like inclusive and exclusive of the frequency table or the interval, but you have to at least maintain the consistency. You should at least understand through the brackets. Round bracket, exclude the number just mentioned before it. Round bracket, exclude this. Just consider up to 24. And round and the let's say big bracket is, let's say, inclusive in nature. Round bracket is exclusive in nature. Big bracket is, or the square bracket is inclusive in nature. Okay, this is I guess this is the simple mathematical let's say laws of brackets. You might have studied in, let's say, grade 6 or 5, right? But maintain the consistency. That's what I said. Are you clear with this? And normally we just at least okay. So this is just my opinion that the 10 class frequency distribution gave a more detailed breakdown of the temperature. Okay, pointing out the smaller frequencies for the higher temperature intervals. So you can ask me that what is a thumb rule? How many, let's say, uh, if you ask me that, do you have any thumb of rule which can tell us how many intervals supposed to be, let's say, created to convert or let's say transform this ungrouped data into group? I would say no, there is no thumb of rule. Okay. You need to at least consider this fact that, okay, your frequency distribution should be visible properly. So construct as many age groups or as many intervals, okay, which can take care of your data distribution. Your data distribution should be visible properly. So that many intervals are like proper for your way of, let's say, transforming ungrouped to group data. Okay. So here you have to at least use your common sense. That's what I can say. Okay. So that's why, so the 10 class frequency distributions, if you look at that 10 classes frequency distribution gives a more detailed breakdown of temperatures, pointing out the smaller frequencies for the higher temperature intervals. And the 5-class distribution collapse the interval into broader classes, making it appear that there are nearly equal frequencies in each classes. Okay. Many times we just observe that some of the let's say subsequent classes, they are like having an equal frequency distribution, so we can club them. Okay. Is there any formula to make this table? If you are asking me, or let's say what kind of let's say method being used, so this is a telemark method, which is like you must have tried this in your school days. This is a telemark method. So normally we use this kind of method for ungroup to group transformation. And if you're asking me any Excel formula, I can demonstrate that. But don't blame me for that, okay? Because last time somebody at least told me that, क्या आप हर बार एक्सेल डिस्कस करते हो, हमें नहीं यूज करना है एक्सेल. Don't blame me for that. Okay. So let's say this is a ungrouped data, and let's say if you want to group this in this many intervals, what is a proper way to do it? Okay. So proper way is very simple. You should at least write the lower limit. Okay, lower limit you have to mention here. Lower value, the lowest value. Or the smallest value. So in this first interval, the lowest or the smallest value is 0 IAS. Here, the smallest value is 30. The smallest value is 40. The smallest value is 50. And the last interval, the smallest value is 60. There is a VLOOKUP function equals to VLOOKUP. I want computer to read this cell one by one. So at this moment, I just want let's say Excel to read this particular figure, which is a discrete figure, comma, and I just want Excel to refer this particular table, okay, for the coding, okay. And in this particular small table, which I'm asking Excel to use for the reference, okay, in the third row of that, my age categories are like age intervals are like written properly. So I'm saying in the third column, the title or the category names are like presented, like 20 to 30, 40 to 50 years, 60 to 70 years. So I'm just at least mentioning that third column supposed to be used for labeling. Okay. And I want Excel to take, use its own assumptions to decide that once you just read this value 25, you need to decide that that particular value, fall into which particular, let's say, age group. So I just want Excel to take the decision automatically, okay, based on the figures, okay, and based on the reference table. So approximation, okay. Now, if I want to drag this, I need to log this, okay. Function F4, which is a key in my laptop. You need to at least explore what's the key to lock the array. Okay, I simply need to drag this. It'll be printed everywhere. If I want to generate the frequency table, I need to select these two columns, go to the pivot table. Okay, I need to put age groups in the rows. Sum of age in the values. I need to at least change the value field setting, count. Okay, this is the way that you can do it. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this way you can at least prepare the frequency table. Now, those who are like asking me to repeat again, please check the recording at the end. This is not there in your syllabus. I'm not supposed to teach this. Okay. This is just an additional thing that I'm discussing. Okay. I'm just really showing you that how you can at least convert ungrouped data into the group data using a basic software called Excel. You can do the same thing in SPSS also. Now, these are the charts which are there in this chapter number 2. So let's say many charts can be useful to, let's say, get some basic idea about the pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is, let's say, very much important. Looking at the data, you may not at least get any hint so easily about the pattern. So if you, let's say, draw the graph, then many of the patterns are like revealed within some seconds, and you can at least get to know about the data distribution, and you can at least make some assumptions about it, and those assumptions can help you to at least build up some strategies. So many times people just rely on this kind of let's say graphs to identify the frequency let's say patterns. Okay, say for example the educational background. Okay, the frequencies, then percentage, and the cumulative frequencies are given. What is the cumulative frequency? The running total. Okay, so these are the running total. So how many students are like either BBA or BTech? How many students have earned the BBA or BTech degree? That's a cumulative total. 35 BBA students and 16 BTech students. Okay, 16 plus 35 equals to 51. And you should read the cumulative frequency in this manner. So 51 students are like either BTech or BBA. Okay, 51 students have earned either the BTech degree or BBA degree. What about this 94? These are the students who have earned, let's say, BC or BB or BTech degrees. Okay, like this way. So the cumulative frequencies are like, running totals starting from the very beginning. Okay, so these are the running totals. There is one which is a relative frequency. What is a relative frequency? Take this example of income groups. Okay, there are some chat, messages in the chat box. 5 minutes break. I'll at least give you the 5 minutes break. Don't worry. There are some Q&As also. Saili is saying that, can you please explain the difference between Saili metric and the non-metric? I have at least said. I clearly talk about the differences. Saili, if I request you, if you can at least check the recording again, and then if you are not clear, then I'll definitely help you to at least understand this thing. Okay, but I have to request you to check the recording in that case. Explain nominal again. Dilshad is saying, Dilshad Billy Moria is asking me to repeat the nominal scale. Dilshad, can I request you again? The same request. I can, okay, because if you ask me certain things, repeat again and again, then it's like other people will at least loosen up the interest. Okay. When I'm just reading your comment, they have also loosened up the interest. Okay, is it necessary to similar distance between the interval and the ordinal consecutive data? Yes, in interval it is. In ordinal, it's just a ranking. No, it is not. If you talk about the numeric distance between two subsequent categories, in interval, distance supposed to be equal, Vedic. But in ordinal, you can't at least keep the distances same across the categories. Okay, Vedic. So Vaidik is asking me the question, which is like very amazing. I mean, let me just at least discuss this in detail. So Vaidik is asking me, let's say there are two examples actually. Okay, there is one, let's say there is one interval scale. Okay, interval. Let's say I just wanted to map, let's say satisfaction level. Satisfaction level of 50 students. Okay, that they are having for the canteen. Okay, so overall satisfaction level of canteen services. Okay, so I approach, let's say a Gujarat University students. I approach 50 students from Gujarat University. I ask them, please share your overall satisfaction level with the canteen services. Okay, and you have 5 options. You can express your satisfaction level, okay, this way: highly satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, highly dissatisfied. And the lower degree is supposed to be assigned to the lowest level of satisfaction. That's a simple rule. Okay, so let me just consider -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now, in interval scale, the step value or the difference, step value or difference, let me just choose another. Okay, step value or the difference between any two subsequent categories supposed to be 1. Okay, the difference is 1 only. Okay, if you move from left to right, the difference is +1 each and every time. Okay, now this has to be there in interval scale. Sorry, I'm just diverting this conversation, but Vaidik asked me amazing question, so I thought let me just share with other participants. Now, in the ordinal, you can't do that. Ordinal scale. Say, for example, there are 3 students: Ramesh, Akash, and Vaidik. Okay, they have secured some marks in decision science. Let's say these are their marks out of 100. And if we rank them, their ranks. So what is the ranking in this case? The first rank, the second rank, and the third rank. We can say that, let's say the first rank is bigger than second is bigger than third, but the difference of marks in between the first ranker and the second ranker could be different from the second ranker and the third ranker. So here, the difference between any two, distance in terms of numbers, distance between any two subsequent numbers in a series cannot be the same. Okay, I hope this is clear to each and every one. In interval that's supposed to be there, in ordinal, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Many times it's not possible even. Malika, that you have to choose. Malika is asking that without brackets, with brackets. How do you know that? You have to choose that, I mean, and maintain the consistency. Once you adopt any approach, then you just at least, follow it till the time you just at least finish your data collection process, the analysis, which chapter is going on. Now, now those people who just repetitively asking me which chapter, I feel like I have posted some, here you can at least take 5 minutes break. Okay, you can take 5 minutes break. Okay, let me just at least in the break time, let me just talk about this. Those people who are like asking me repetitively, asking me which chapter, which chapter, which chapter. That feels like I posted some picture of some food items or the food dishes that I have prepared on the Instagram, and then people just at least keep asking me in the let's say DM, or let's say uh, in the chat or whatever you just call comment section, that recipe, 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 recipe. That feels like that. Okay, this is chapter number 2 we are discussing. Okay. Okay, you can at least take a break of 5 minutes. As I said, we'll start again. Sorry, we just got distracted because of some queries. Chat box. Don't ask me. I mean, the another side of people just asking me, "Konsa topic, which topic, which topic, which topic." Aarti, but what I can do, I mean, you should at least understand what could I mean, what should I do? I mean, I can't ignore any comment, Aarti. I hope you can understand, Aarti. I can't ignore any comments. When the comments are many, I have to answer them. I am helpless for those who are like distracted, but what should I do? I mean, I'll coming back to that, how to calculate relative frequency. Again, I'll discuss that slide because the flow of the discussion was, broke down because of some queries. Now on my screen, there is a popping up that the query section thing is like popping up. I thought that let me just answer them. Any questions in the break time? Still, we have 3 minutes. Any questions? Anything that you would like to share? Okay, Keshav. Each slide, matlab, this is just like a homework for me. I told this is a part of chapter 2. Keshav, I'll do that. I told you yesterday, in first 2 sessions, I'll discuss the content of first 3 chapter. Chapter number 1 is all about the parameter and other stuff. When I started chapter 2, I just say that, okay, this is the content of chapter 2. Arnab is asking me, can the data set be converted from nominal to ordinal or the vice versa? Nominal to ordinal, no. But nominal to that exercise is not there in our syllabus, but nominal to ratio, it can be possible. If you summarize the data, again, when you just convert the micro data to the macro level, okay, those are like having that economics background. If you have gathered the data from micro level and if you summarize it or aggregate the data at macro level, definitely nominal information can be considered as a ratio if you once you just transform it at the macro level. The simple example could be, let's say Census of India tried to understand the reasons for the migration. They just at least targeted those people who migrated and they asked that, okay, what is the reason for migration? Some people said work and employment. Some people said marriages. These are like categorical data, right? This is a categorical data. Now, when at a district level, when you just summarize that how many people migrated for work and employment, that's a ratio. That becomes ratio. Okay, so when you just switch to micro level to macro level, uh, information, I mean, the nominal information can be represented as a ratio. I hope you can visualize that exercise is not there in your syllabus. I'll at least tell you at the end. Okay. Okay, here we should at least start again. Break is over now. Please organize some webinar on data analysis using the Python or any other software. This apart from normal session. I'll do. Yes, Ravi. Income groups. Okay, let's talk about the income groups and the mid values. What is a mid values? This is a middle values. I mean, say for example, 20,000 to this is 20K to 40K. And the middle value is what? 30K. Okay. How do you find it out? I mean, the simple mathematics here. 40K plus 20K divided by 2 because these are the two values. So this is the lowest possible value. This is a highest possible value in that interval. So this is going to be 60K by 2. This is going to be 30K. So this is how you should at least find out the middle value for each and every interval. So what is the purpose of finding out the middle value? So this is a discrete representation of your continuous data. Okay, this is a continuous observation. Certainly it is, because look at the intervals. This is a continuous observation. And if you want a discrete representation of your continuous observation, then mid values, normally just people consider mid values, okay, middle points. These are the frequencies. Okay, discrete figures. What is the relative frequency? Relative frequency is showing this shares, actually shares, or let's say you can say that it's a stake of each and every category with reference to the frequencies. So how a relative frequency can be calculated? So individual frequency divided by total frequency. Okay, so here 46 divided by 320. Here it's 76 divided by 320. Here it's 39 divided by 320. Likewise, you can at least do it for the rest. So basically, relative frequency is showing you the stake of each and every category in terms of its frequencies. Okay, so that's a relative frequency, and cumulative frequencies are like running totals. As I told you, it's running totals. So tell me the number of people whose income level is up to 60,000. Up to 60,000. Tell me the number of people whose income is up to 60,000. 149. Yes. So 149 is what basically? It's a summation of these three intervals. It's a summation of these three intervals. Okay. And summation of the frequencies of these three intervals, 27 plus 46 plus 76. Okay. So likewise, you should understand the other values in the cumulative frequency column, okay, or interpret them accordingly. Now let me talk about certain charts, histograms. So what is the role of histogram? Histogram is like amazing. These are the charts which are there in your syllabus. In the chapter number 2, you'll find this kind of charts, and we need to understand. Please focus on their role, how the chart can be prepared, what need to be considered on x-axis, what need to be considered on y-axis, because this will help you to at least write some descriptive questions. Okay. Say for example, descriptive question could be write a short note on histogram. So you have to at least mention, you have to start that what is histogram first. Okay, define in your own ways. Then you just at least tell that what need to be considered on x-axis, y-axis, what is the role of it, and how histogram need to be interpreted. In what sort of data, it's very important. So this is about the histogram. Histogram is very useful tool for differentiating the frequencies of class intervals. Okay, differentiating. Okay, this is amazing actually in that sense. And it can be, basically it's a bar chart. Okay, this is a bar chart. Okay, bar chart can be used for grouped data. Bar chart can be used for group data. The construction of histogram involves in labeling the x-axis with the class endpoints and y-axis with the frequencies. Please note down this. On x-axis, you need to at least consider class endpoints. Okay? Class endpoints you need to consider. So this is how a histogram can be, let's say, this is an example of a histogram. Okay. Let me just at least consider one real data for your practice. Let me just share one, data link. Okay. So you can practice with this. Okay. So I just at least click on the button, which is just right beside the India. Okay. This button that I just clicked, and my one file has started downloading, Excel file. Let me just share this link in your chat box. So you can also, practice with this, how histogram can be plotted and how histogram need to be understood. Okay. So histogram is, let's say, much more important to, let's say, show that how categories and the frequencies are like, exhibiting some patterns. Okay. So let me just at least discuss this migration example. Okay. This is about the migrants in India during 2001 to 2011. This data was collected by Census of India. Okay, and let me just focus on the total migrants, by the way. So these are the like total migrants. Okay, I've selected, basically this data is like very detailed data, and I've selected a very tiny portion of this particular data. So these are the migrants. And these are like age groups. Now, one question. I wanted to know the pattern. From which age group people are like migrating a lot? Who are migrating a lot compared to the other people? Okay, here people are like categorized by their age groups. I wanted to know that who are migrated, okay? Who migrated a lot during that period called 2001 to 11? Okay, I need to know that. And I just simply want to compare the categories and wanted to understand the pattern. That's why I need to at least consider, let's say, endpoints. Now, you must have noticed that the way Census of India defined the classes is, this method is different than what I have done. Okay, the way they prepare the group data is different than what I have done. Okay, 0 to 4, 5 to 9. Here, both the values are inclusive in nature. Here, both the values are like inclusive in nature. Okay, so here this is a 4, this is a 9. Okay, this is a 14. Okay, there is a 19, there is a 24. Okay, likewise, you need to at least write the values. We don't have much time, so I'm just using this function called series. Okay. This is my x-axis information, and this information should go on y-axis. Okay. And this is how a histogram can be prepared. 4 years of age, 9 years of age, 14 years of age, 24. Can you observe a spike after this? Can you observe a spike after 19 years of age? Do you observe this? You need not to know this Excel functions. Excel is not there in your syllabus. Okay, Excel is not there in your syllabus. Don't ask me that question again. Excel is fast enough. That's why I'm just at least using it. Otherwise, your focus should be on conceptual understanding of the techniques. Okay. Now, so this way histogram, consider endpoints on x-axis and the frequencies on y-axis. And this way you can at least detect the pattern across the different categories. Detect the pattern. Okay. You can at least do that. Histogram connected nahi hona chahiye. You can do that. There are many ways. There are many things. I mean, you can do it. They are like simple bar chart. They are like simple bar charts. Okay. One more thing, which is okay. Ashish is asking where the histograms can be used when you are dealing with categorical data and your objective is to distinguish each category with respect to the frequencies. That's one line answer. Ashish. Ashish is asking me where the histograms can be useful when you are dealing with the categorical data or let's say a group data, when you are dealing with the group data and the frequencies, and your objective is to show, uh, let's say you just simply want to, let's say, distinguish the groups with respect to their frequencies. Okay. Now, one more point is, let's say, frequency polygon. Now, this is the role of this is like very similar to histogram. Either you can use histogram or frequency polygon. They'll act in the same direction, actually. So the construction of the frequency polygon begins by scaling the class midpoints along with the horizontal axis, and the frequency scale along with the vertical axis, matlab x-axis. Okay. Here, in place of bars, the dots can be used, okay, to represent the coordinates. Okay. And we, at the end of once we just at least plot all the coordinates, we need to at least connect them. Okay, we need to at least draw a line passing through all the coordinates. Okay, let me just at least give you a simple example of this, how it can be drawn manually. Let me just at least talk about it. For that, let me just at least choose female migrants data. Okay. These are in millions. These figures are in millions now. Okay. I've converted these figures into millions. Female migrants. Age groups. Okay. Select them, go to insert. This way you can at least draw this. Okay, this is called frequency polygon. You have to click the dots like this way. If you don't want labels, let me just at least cancel the labels. Okay, you can do the same thing. You can draw the same graph, okay, with a pen and paper. Do you want me to explain that, or it's okay? Do you want me to explain that part, how this can be drawn with a pen and paper? Class endpoints you need to consider. Oh, sorry, midpoints. Class midpoints you need to consider. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 is a midpoint. Then here, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 7 is a midpoint. So what is the difference between 2 and 7? 5 points ka difference. Okay, 5 points ka difference is there. Consider the step value 5 and go ahead. Okay. This can be the values for x-axis, midpoints, and the role of this frequency polygon is similar to exactly, in a way you can say that exactly same as histogram. This can also be used for pattern recognition across the categories. Okay, you can use this for the pattern recognition across the categories. So female migrants. So how patterns could be recognized? So here we can observe that say there is a steady, let's say there is an exponential increase, but after this point, okay, there is a big exponential jump. Okay, what is this age? Once let's say female complete the age of 19 years, there is a spike. Okay, there is a spike. Once they attain 19 years of age or 20 years of age, there is a spike. There is a spike, or let's say a rapid increase in the female migration. Do you know the reason? Do I need to tell you the reason why female migrants are like, let's say, noticeably high after they attain certain age? Because the marriages, okay, marriages in the rural sector, marriages is very important factor. After a certain age, if you observe, females are now. This is my own analysis actually. I've at least played with this particular data. So up to this, in this particular bracket, 0 to 19 years, all the females, they migrate because their family members are migrating. Their parents are like working. When their parents migrated in a search of work or the employment, they also move along with their parents. Now, in this particular, let's say bracket called 19 to 50, females mostly migrate because of marriages and the other family related issues. And these are like they just at least migrate along with their children. Okay, let's say after attaining certain age, when their childrens are like settling down in the other cities or the other areas, okay, where they could at least find the greater perspective for their jobs and the employment, they also migrate along with the children's. Okay, education. The proportion of the education is very less. Radha, in this country, the female migration for education is very less comparatively. The major stake is marriage. Coming back to this, so this is how frequency polygon and let's say histogram can at least help you to uh, you know check the pattern across the categories. Okay, Ojive is something different. It can be used to at least note down the running totals and how ogives can be let's say prepared. Ogives are like most useful when the decision maker wanted to see the running totals, and it can be plotted with the cumulative frequency figures. So class endpoints are taken on x-axis and cumulative frequencies can be considered on y-axis. Coordinates are like presented with the dots and then connected subsequently by the line passing through them. Okay, this is ogive actually. Okay, this is how ogive can be calculated. The age of the best. Okay, this is like cumulative frequency along with the ages, let's say age data of actresses. Okay, so there's a line graph. Okay, rather than a bar graph, here we have a line graph. Okay, uses a class boundaries on the x-axis, uses cumulative frequencies. Okay, and this can help us to at least understand the running totals basically. Okay, running totals. And distance between any two dots will tell you the size of that frequency. So this is a relative comparison of frequency, or let's say frequency of different, let's say groups. And this is a relative comparison of group sizes, you can say, because we are using the running totals. So you can easily note down, or let's say graphically, you can at least detect, and you could say that which group is bigger in size, okay, uh, related to the other groups. It'll be always upward trend. Yes, it will be always upward trend. So Smita is asking, Ojai will be always upward trend. Yes. After certain things, let's say frequencies are less, then the growth of the line would be like stagnant, but definitely in the upward direction only. You may observe this kind of after a certain point, let's say Ojai will become this when there is a constant change. Another example of ogive. Okay. Let me just choose this data, the female migrants, and let me just explain how ogives can at least help us to know this pattern. Now you just observe female migrants after 70s, okay, after 70, let's say those females who are like in their 70s or 80s, okay, comparatively they're less, their proportion, okay, is less compared to other categories, other age categories, okay. Now here in OJ, what we need to do is we need to at least consider, uh, let's say, class endpoints on x-axis, on y-axis, class cumulative totals. Okay, so let me just find out the cumulative total. Okay, this way. I'm just using Excel because this data is real data, bigger in size. There are only 12. There are actually 10, more than 10 categories. And if I draw it manually, I guess half an hour is like required for me, and I don't want to waste that time because this is like very obvious. Okay, you know how to at least prepare this graph with pen and paper. So I just feel that it's a wastage of time, I guess. Cumulative totals, spelling error. Okay, okay. So my ogive is just ready. Okay, within few seconds, ogive is there. Okay, so you can observe a steady or let's say stagnant growth after a certain time. So 870. And just observe this distance between two, let's say, two dots. Let's say this is bigger in size, this is also bigger in size, this is also bigger in size. Okay, so this is a running total. And when you just observe the frequency 0, it'll be like straight line constantly. Let's say observations are 0, it'll be like straight line. Okay, okay, if the frequencies are less comparatively, that's why the exponentiality, okay, exponential growth is not, bigger. It's just like smaller. Let's say you can say, let's say this is like what the stagnant growth, and this is a big exponential jump. This is called big exponential jump, like spike in let's say COVID cases, if you have seen, like this way. Okay, if you have Arogya Setu, okay, they are using the ogive particularly. If you have Arogya Setu, and let's say in Arogya Setu, let me just at least open. I can't really show you on my screen, but you just at least go to the COVID updates, and these are confirmed cases. If you can look at my camera, so these are confirmed cases. Okay, at this point, confirmed cases are like 38,000. Okay, so you can observe in last month, actually in last month, cases are like near to 40,000, 30,000, just roaming somewhere between 30 to 45,000. This is steady because this is a ogive actually. Now, if you change the cases as per the state wise, okay, if you look at my camera in Gujarat, I have selected Gujarat. So let's say in last month, new cases in Gujarat were like somewhere below 30, okay, below 40 actually. If you can observe this kind of length, During the second wave, there was a spike in Gujarat. So cases were increasing rapidly. Okay, but in last month, cases were like below 40. It was like this. Okay, so this is how Ojai will tell you. So whenever you just observe a straight line in Ojai, please perceive that the frequencies are like, frequencies are like very much less compared to. And when you just at least observe a spike, exponential spike, then please perceive that there is a rapid growth in the observations. Okay, I hope this is useful to you. I hope all of you are like using Arogya Setu. Let me just at least put this in front of your camera. Don't waste time actually. If you are keep asking me this kind of questions, then I hope now it's visible. Okay? Then check it out, your Arogya Setu. There is a COVID updates, and in that you'll literally see cases over the time. There is a section called cases over the time. Okay. Coming back to my slide. Is a cross step. Now this is a cross step is, let's say, important when you are dealing with two categorical data. So frequency of two categorical data can be, let's say, represented by this bivariate table or the contingency table. You can call this table as a contingency table or call it as a bivariate table. So one variable and its categories you just at least consider on the column wise, and you can choose to at least represent the categories of another variable, okay, row wise. So gender categories are like represented row wise, and educational background categories are like represented column wise. And the simplest example of this could be D3 table. Actually, any of the table, any of the migration table you choose. So D3 table is telling you basically the reasons of migration. Okay, census identified some 7 reasons of migration, and you just at least come to know about area wise migrations. So there are multiple. So this is actually the multi-layer data. Okay, here if I talk about my slide, the cross-tab analysis of two variable only. Variable one is educational background. Variable two is gender. Okay, so this is a frequency table of two variables. Okay, two variable and their joint frequencies. This is called cross-tab. Now this is a single layer cross-tab actually. If you want to see the multi-layer cross-tab, okay, let's say some more complex tables in this sort of arrangement, then you should at least refer this. So this is, let's say, this is one variable called area name. This is second variable called area type. This is third variable called residence. This is fourth variable called last residence. Okay. Then these are the reasons. Okay. So there are 6 to 7 variables and their 6 to 7 categorical variables and their frequencies. So this is a perfect example of it. Okay. So reasons for migration is variable 1. So these are the reason categories: work, employment, migration for work and employment, migration for business, migration for education. And these are like variable 2, which is a place, variable 3, variable 4, okay, and variable 5. So this is a complex design of crosstab. Okay. So crosstab is like very much useful when you are dealing with more than one categorical data. Let me just tell you again. Crosstab analysis is very much useful when you are dealing with more than one categorical data and their frequencies. I hope this is clear to you. Let me just repeat it again. Crosstab analysis is much useful when you want to simply represent the data, okay, and when your data are consisting more than one categorical variable along with the frequencies. I hope this is clear to you. Is it? Are you able to write the short note on crosstab? I hope this concept is clear to you. Is it? Please write. Actually, there are 176 participants and few people are like responding me. You have to respond. Otherwise, how would I come to know? Not descriptive statistics. Um, yes, more than one dimension. Yes, Karan. Correct. Okay. Now, descriptive statistics. Let's talk about the mean, median, mode, and the other descriptive statistics. So there is a ungrouped data and group data. So let me just talk about the mode first. Mode is that particular value which is frequently occurring. Okay. And this is less popular than the mean and the median just because it's just focus on the, you know, uh, uh, you know, that particular figure which has occurred many times, which has seen, okay, a figure which have been seen, which has been seen many times in the data, in your data matrix. Say, for example, in this particular data series one, okay, in this particular data series one, okay, 6 has appeared, I guess, five times, okay, and look at the other numbers. 7 appeared, I guess, 3 times. 8 has appeared 2 times. 9 has appeared 3 times. 10, 2 times. So the highest frequency is of 6 only. In data series 2, there could be 2 mode values. Okay. Because the 5 and 6, both the digits, if you talk about these 2 digits, both have appeared 4 times, equal number of times. And they are like highest among all. So among all digits and the numbers, 5 and 6 have appeared highest number of times. Okay. They appeared four times. So this is a data series where 2 mode values are there. There could be multi-mode situation जहाँ पे mode value 2 से ज्यादा हो. ऐसी series भी हो सकती है जहाँ पे 2 से ज्यादा mode value हो. इसको कहते हैं multi-mode. And there is a possibility that all the values in the data series are like unique. If you just at least gather the information on a person's Aadhaar card ID number, okay, imagine that you have created a sample of 100 people, and if you ask each and every 100 respondent that please mention your Aadhaar card ID number, so that way all the Aadhaar card ID numbers would be unique IDs, right? Because Aadhaar card is a unique identification number assigned to each and every Indian actually. So in that particular column where you have asked your respondents to mention their Aadhaar card ID number, so mode, there couldn't be any mode because all the numbers are like unique, just like series number 3. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? So now this is chapter number 3. Okay, this is chapter number 3. Okay. Now median. What is a median? Median is village code, has no mode. Correct, Karan. I'm so glad if you just at least relate with the real life example. Seriously, I'm really happy for those who can relate it. So median is the value in the ordered array of the number for any array. Array matlab एक arrangement. This is called array. This is a column array. Okay, let's say x1 is 7, x2 is let's say 8, x3 is let's say 9. So let's say if you arrange the observation row wise or the column wise, okay, so this is called column array, and this is called row array. This is class 5 mathematics. Okay. Okay, for an array with an even number of terms, the median is the average of 2 middle numbers. Okay. Let me just at least consider a simple example and tell you the 2 different ways of calculating the median. For that, let me just switch to my whiteboard, just clean it up, and then Let's talk about it. These are the students. Okay, let me just at least select their names from the chat box. Those who have recently written something: Keshav, Tripti, and let's say Risha. It's my name. Okay, let's say they have scored something in decision science. Okay, my marks are, let's say, 52 only. I can at least afford to uh, assign me random marks, which are like lowest among all. Okay, 98, 85, and 70. Okay, so these are their marks. Okay, now if I want to find out the median of this, first of all, step number one is what? Okay, let me just choose one more name, which is a Srinivas. Srinivas Reddy has secured, let's say, 78 marks. Now, what is the first step? Let me just switch to the slide. Step number one, you have to rearrange all the observation either in ascending or descending order. Either ascending or descending. बीच में confuse नहीं होना. ठीक है? If you start let's say rearranging all the observation with ascending order, don't get confused in between and start organizing again descending order. Choose any one. You have to be clear, right? Because last time I just at least came up with that, a person just at least did that mess. पहले मैंने ascending किया, बाद में descending किया. I thought that is correct. नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Both ways are like correct only. See, Karan stood on the first position because secured 98 marks out of 100. Second is, let's say, Keshav. Keshav has secured 85 marks. He stood on the second position. Okay, first position, second position. The third position should be allotted Srinivas. Okay, 78 marks. And the fourth position could be assigned to Tripti. It is the fourth position, 75 marks, and my position is just the last, I mean, the bottom position. Okay, you can consider 52 marks with 52 marks. Okay, now these are their positions. Okay, let me just at least highlight them. So median is what basically? So median for this, okay, median for this is the middle value. The middle value is this. So 78 marks is the median value. Okay. Now this is the case when the number of observations are 5. 5s are like what? Odd numbers. Okay. Number of observations are what? Capital N is what? Number of observations are like 5 only. When we have an even number of observations, what do we do then? Let's say we don't have data for Srinivas. Okay. What do we do now? What do we do now? Okay, we need to at least rewrite the position also. This is a third position. This is a fourth position. We need to consider this two. We need to average this two. Okay, 85 plus 75 and then average. So these are the two middle positions. Just before these two positions, there is one position here and there is one position on the right hand side. Okay, so one equal number of positions are there on both the end. Okay, so average marks are like 80. Are you clear? Okay. Okay. This is not affected by extreme values. That's what we could say from median. Why this is not affected by extreme observation? Can you see this? The marks that Karan has secured is an extreme marks, extreme observation. Compare Karan's marks with my marks. 52 is the lowest. Karan has secured 98 marks. And So Karan's observation is, let's say what? It's the biggest observation in the data series. And my observation is, let's say, the lowest data in the entire series. Okay. So this value is an extreme value actually. But median is what? Median is just a representative. It's just an aggregate representative. It's just one number. You can say that this is an aggregated number, and that is a representative of entire series. If you don't want to present the entire data matrix, data array, if you don't want to at least let's say discuss the entire data array, many times people use this as a aggregated figure, which could be generalized number. If you want some generalization, okay, this is what you can do. Okay. Now, another thing is, let's say mean. Mean is affected by large observations. Okay. Mean is affected by large observations. Okay. Arithmetic mean, all of you just know the calculation of this. Now, mean is badly affected by outliers and extreme values. How do we understand this? Outliers and extreme observations. Now, can I ask one question? How many of you, okay, you have a 5 stars to express your opinion, okay? 5 stars, okay? 1 star,